What's going on, guys? So coming to you today with a quick fix video on this Streamlight flashlight. This is for one of our local fire departments. They bought new batteries for them, thinking that was what was wrong with them, which some of the batteries were a couple of years old, 5-6 years old, so they're probably due for replacement. But what they done is they sent the flashlight to me because they can't get it to come on even with a new battery in it. Now the screws are already out of the base of it here, so we're just going to pop the base off and take a quick look in here. And we notice there's a circuit board, and then we've got the terminals here for the power and ground. I'm going to pop the clips off of this new battery, and we'll hook up our power. We'll hook up our ground back here on the battery, and then what we're going to do is just hit the switch, see what happens. We got nothing. Alright, so that means we need to know, first off, is the battery charged, and do we have power coming to the circuit board? So I'm going to grab out my little Coweets meter here. If you haven't already seen the video on this, I'll link it up here for you. But this is a Coweets clamp meter. It is a great tool. I like using it. What we're going to do first is we're going to flip it down to voltage. And we're going to set it in auto. And function setting right now is on DC volts. Now this battery is a 6-volt battery. So we should be getting about 6 volts of power. And we're getting 6.45 volts on the battery. So that tells us that the battery is charged. Now what we've got is we've got the circuit board here. And need to know if there's power coming to the positive and negative terminal here on the circuit board. So what I'm going to do is just test those out real quick here. And we've got 6.45 volts on the actual circuit board. Alright, so now let's hold on to the ground terminal here and test our switch wires. Let's see what we've got. Right now it looks like there's possibly nothing, but there's a coating on here I got to get past in order to test these. And there we go. So we got 6.45 volts coming into the switch. So that tells us we've got power to the switch. Now let's try hitting that. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take this probe and stick it underneath my ground here on my battery. Since I know I've got voltage coming in, I just need a ground to reference the test here. And I'm going to check right here on the output side of my switch to see if it's sending power out of the switch. Up. Look at there. I'm wiggling the switch. So that's what it is. I think we've already figured out what's wrong with our light here. Looks like we've got a contact problem in the switch. So let's do this. Slide the battery over. We've got it disconnected. And we'll take this switch out. It's got a little waterproof cap on it that holds it in. We'll spin that off. And then we will pop the switch out of here. And that thing, we're just looking at how it's soldered onto the board. Everything looks good there. So now, we're going to need to separate this switch apart. We need to open it up. These are basically just a push button switch here. On, off, on, off. I'm just going to need like a small tool to get in here and separate this out. So give me just a second and I'll be right back with you. All right, so I got my little pocket screwdriver here. We're just going to separate the two halves of this switch very gently because it is plastic. And it's one of those things of on this one, once you get it started, you just kind of keep working your way around. It's got pins that hold the switch together. And as I'm separating the back half of the switch away here, and I'm not trying to be super aggressive, I'm trying to be real gentle with it because I don't want to break it because like I said, it is plastic. But once we get the switch itself separated, I'm going to pull the cover off here. And there's our little cover. Inside of here is a spring. And then we've got the plunger for the switch itself. I'm going to take that out. Now, I don't know how well you're going to be able to see that on the camera there, but right here behind it is a lot of discoloration and stuff on the copper. So that's going to need to be cleaned. Now the next thing that I see right off the bat here, and I don't know how well you'll see it on the camera, but if you could see those contact terminals on that switch, those little copper blades, they're really dark and discolored. So what we're going to do is we're going to need to scrape those and clean those up in order to get this thing working. Now, these terminals will pop out of this very gently. There we go. Now, be sure and don't lose the little plastic insert that's in here because it'll fall out. So we want to make sure that that thing seats all the way down inside of there. We'll set it off to the side so we don't lose the pieces for it. I'm also going to set the spring and the rear cap off over there. Now, what we need to do is we need to clean these. You know, combination of things that can be used to clean it. You can use water peroxide and citric acid. Those will clean copper up relatively well. You can use something like Brasso. You could use a little steel wool or something to that extent. But basically what that is like a patina that comes up on the copper. It's not uncommon. It does create havoc for electrical parts. It seems like they would have made this switch a little bit different, especially for an emergency light. However, that's what we've got. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab some cleaner and we're going to get these cleaned up. All right, guys. So what I got is I got this stuff called Brasso. Cleans and polishes metal polish. It works on brass, copper, stainless, chrome, aluminum, pewter, and bronze. So we're pretty well safe no matter what these are made out of. But what we're going to do is just get just a little dab of it here. It's not going to take much, just a little smidgen. And then what I'm going to do is I'm just going to basically just dab that onto that connector. Now I want it to sit on there. Now I've already dabbed a little bit onto the little brass plunger here. So what we're going to do is we're just going to keep coating it all the way around. Get it coated up. And really, it doesn't take a tremendous amount of rubbing with this stuff. It's just a lot of let it sit and let it work, let it do its job. This one is pretty much about clean because I done it first. Now we've got this second one here. Go. Wipe any excess off of it. I'm gonna let you take a look at that. You can see right there. Those are nice and shiny now. I mean, they're shining like a new penny. That's what you want. That means we're going to get a really good contact. There's no corrosion there. And the objective now is to get this little brass plunger here. We want to get it polished up just like that. So it's going to take just a second or two here to turn this and get it cleaned up. Because at the end of the day, I want this to be just as shiny as these contacts are. Almost got the whole thing done here. Now, there we go. Now where our contact is at is all on this angle right here. That's where our contact's going to be made. So you'll be able to see there, that thing is nice and cleaned up now. I don't know how well it shows up on the camera, but that should be nice and shiny. So we've got that. Just want to take a look at these contacts again, make sure they don't have any discoloration on them. And then from there, what we'll do is basically reassemble our switch. All right, guys. So I got the camera over here where you can actually see what's going on here. If you look at these contacts now, they are nice and shiny. So they are super clean. What we want to do is take our switch. Again, that little plastic piece has got to be down inside of there. But we're going to take our contacts and we're going to sit them in here just like this. And they basically just push down in there. It just they're kind of frictioned in place. There's not a lot of force, but they just kind of sit in there and friction holds them as you pinch the wire in there and the housing itself. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to drop our brass piece in just like that. And you'll see how that makes contact across the two contacts. That's how this switch works. We're going to put our spring in and you'll see all these little, there's 4 nubs on each side that are sticking up that go into this switch assembly. And that's what holds it together. So what we want to do is we just want to set our tip right on top of our spring there to get everything lined up. Now, that tip's on our spring. We're just going to push this down now and clamp it together. And what I like to do, if I fix one of these, is I just take my little Leatherman pliers here and I just go around to each corner, and I'm not squeezing like I'm trying to break it. I'm just squeezing so that I can get it seated down. Because once it's seated in place, it basically clips in, and that's it. Once it's clipped in there, the switch works. That's it. All right, so now what we'll do is bring our battery over here. We'll hook our positive terminal up to our battery. And then I'm going to raise this up, hook our negative terminal up, and I'll back the camera up just a little bit here. Now, the question is, does our switch work? So we're just going to test it. Here we go. Lights off, lights on, lights off, lights on. And I can wiggle the switch around now, and it doesn't flicker. It doesn't go in and out like it did before. So I feel pretty confident that we have taken care of this. I think the fire department will be happy with it. All right, guys, so there you go. Quick fix on this little Streamlight here for the fire department. These things are relatively expensive for them to buy, so being able to take that switch apart and clean the contacts and get it operational where I feel confident that it's going to work and function just fine. And then the flip side is we use this Kawitz meter to be able to do our testing. Like I said, if you haven't seen the video for this Kawitz meter, it's an awesome little tool here. Great LED display, nice controls, a lot of features in this meter. Link up here for the video on it where we did the overview on it. But now all we've got left is basically to get some foam padding in here for the battery, get this thing reassembled and get the screws put in it, and it'll be ready to go back to the fire department, and they can put it back in service and keep taking care of the community. So guys, listen, we appreciate y'all tuning in. It means a lot if you'll hit that subscribe button for us. Drop comments or questions down below. Give us a thumbs up. And as always, stick with us because we're going to be coming to you with more.